Who was the smartest person you ever met? How did you know? I don't know the details like if he graduated early or whatever, but in college a high school senior was in my calculus II class. A little bit into the first class we noticed he wasn't taking notes. The professor even asked him if he needed a pen or something. He was a goofy awkward kid but kind of endearing. He said he didn't need to take notes and we all kind of laughed a little. The professor said, well, okay, but I really suggest you take notes, and continued the class. This kid never took notes. Didn't even bring a notebook to class, but got 100% on every assignment and test. I swear you could see him just absorbing the information. He would sit there fidgeting with his hands working things out. The professor would give us a problem on the board expecting us to take some time to work it out. The kid would stare at the board for 30 seconds, raise his hand and have the correct answer. The first few classes it was kind of annoying, but then it became just impressive. I sometimes wonder where that he is now. I got to meet Bill Gates. He was tuned out, but if you said something smart, he would suddenly focus on you and hone in on what you were saying. Like a listening device that seems like furniture until you awaken it. So sharp. Not much compared to others, but two of my friends are really smart. One of them got a master's from Oxford University in advanced mathematics. They contacted him to offer him a place. He's a wealth management consultant in London now and married to a consultant and anesthesiologist. Another friend was a chief financial officer for a bespoke holiday company at the age of 26. Super smart. I knew he would be successful when he memorized every special move for every character on Tekken as a kid and was unbeatable. Not bad considering we're from a small rural town. Classmate in law school. Had a PhD in science with kids from grade school. Got highest exam on bar. Highest grades in law school. He was a very sweet person. The way he answered questions, it was entirely obvious he was an absolute genius. He respectfully answered questions without coming across as a know-it-all. Everyone annoys me, but this guy was an angel, a term one of his employers, my older cousin, used. Smart guy, started a law firm and is kicking butt. Edit, added closing paren. My uncle. He's Goodwill Hunting smart. Never went to college but can solve any puzzle. Work any math you place before him. Fix cars. And has excellent recall. And with Coke bottle glasses, even in his 70s can shoot a bottle cap off a fence post with a .22 pistol from 50 yards away. First shot every time. If years from now we find out he was some kind of CIA assassin, I'd believe it. His intelligence is terrifying. A kid 2 grades below me is super intelligent. He's allergic to a lot of food items though. We always joke he dumped all his skill points into intelligence and none into basic life function. Sounds cheesy, but my father used to hold the world record for the most top grades ever received. In the 80s Britain's education system is different now, and once won all the subject prizes apart from one. At his school there were prizes for the person who received the top mark in each subject, and the only one he didn't win was geography, and went to a top exclusive grammar school. Then went on to be awarded a full scholarship to Cambridge, the joint best university in the UK with Oxford, and got a job in a pretty high bank as soon as he graduated. However, socially he is extremely awkward and was recently diagnosed as autistic, which explains a lot of his personality, as if it wasn't for my mother and his hobby of playing chess, which my mum pushed him to join a club, he wouldn't have any friends. However, my mum makes up for it by making him socialize with her friends' husbands who are his sort of friends. A friend of mine I met when I was his manager, and he was a delivery driver. He was just there to put himself through school. He was one of those computer nerds that just loved everything about computers as soon as he encountered one as a kid. He learned all the computer languages he could get a hold of. None of those for dummies books. He was far beyond competent by the time he graduated high school and was obviously looking towards a career in the field. Even though he had the knowledge, no one was going to look at him without some sort of degree, thus the delivering pizzas to get through school thing. As soon as he had the paper, he was snapped up by a relatively local company and went to work designing software technologies. He's since worked for various companies and makes a very comfortable living. The computer bit isn't even the thing that makes him smart. I know a lot of incredibly smart people, including 2 legit geniuses. This guy just has a way of grasping what you say on an intuitive level pretty much as soon as you say it. This is the kind of guy who will never tell you he's got a high IQ or even bring it up. He doesn't have to. You couldn't talk with him for but a few sentences before it's obvious. The best part is that he's also quite socially adept and hilarious in conversation. None of that awkward genius routine. One of my high school science teachers. Everyone just called him H. Apparently he figured out a system to win the lottery and hit $1 million. Twice. First time he bought his wife a restaurant. Second time he set himself up with a tree cutting business. Yet he still chose to teach high school. Great guy. Terrifying when he was pissed at us little its though. The top ranker from the university in India where I graduated. The entrance exam is by far the toughest in India. And he scored nearly full marks on it. He graduated with a CGPA that was nearly perfect, like 9.99/10. Went on graduate from Stanford with a PhD. Was CTO in Voodoo etc. I have never seen such a quick mind. On the one hand he could do complex calculations in his head. On the other abstract concepts in math and physics would come so easily to him. In national level crossword puzzles he would be streets ahead of the rest of the competition. And also a very nice person. This uncle of mine when I was 4 who stole my nose. OP. Because he saw the other AskReddit post and knew he could change one word and reap the karma. I have a friend who I met during my A-levels. We both studied graphic design and computing. The man is a straight up wizard as far as I am concerned. During our A-levels he didn't like the programming language we were being taught. Or decided that it wasn't suitable for his projects so he went and taught himself a different one for the exam. And passed well. He also got a first at uni, I believe. Meanwhile I got exactly 1 mark in my programming exam because I am basically retarded. He now works on software for medical radiology or something like that. And there doesn't seem to be a computer based problem that he can't solve. He's that level of intelligence that relishes a challenge. So if there's a problem that's proving to be a cunt, he won't give up until he's solved it. I ended up as a graphic designer because it's a job that can be done by half-eaten corned beef sandwich. Really the clincher for me that he is the smartest person I've met is that I genuinely have admiration for him. I'm a rotten bastard so, except for family, I give myself little time to admire or respect other people so the fact I do so is pretty telling. My brother likes to give him it for being a bit of a stereotype for programmers, underweight, pale as duck etc. And normally I'll join in with a piss take as quick as anyone. But I will absolutely defend this cunt for hours. He's also a really nice dude. I just kind of hope he doesn't see this post because I have a reputation to uphold as a miserable prick. Edit. 1 or 2 people are possibly misunderstanding my job. I don't draw or do any web or UI design because that it is way beyond me. I just do print media. Logos, vans, signs, flyers, etc. My second cousin. 3 times removed. He had a bajillion PhDs but also knew how to be a kind person and nice to children. When I was in middle school I had a teacher in her later years. She gave me the soundest advice I have ever heard and I remember it constantly. Don't marry someone you can live with. Marry someone you can't live without. My wife. Scary smart. A lot of people think intelligence is based on knowledge, which is just remembering all the stuff. My wife's eyes see things I never see. When people talk about the goings on in their lives she casually says just do this, and she is right. She is not allowed to answer during Jeopardy. Sometimes we both know the answer but because she doesn't have to read, she only needs to see the words. It is unfair. I thought I was smart for a long time. Then I met and married the person I can learn from forever. I got pretty sick in 2012. A month in hospital. 3 days in resus. Narrowly avoided being intubated and put in the ICU. Thankfully, the heart doctor said it was my heart. The lung doctors thought it was my lungs. Liver docs and kidney docs all had a go. There was one doctor who finally sorted them all out. He was like some kind of guru. He had an amazing presence. The students and the other doctors doted on his every word. When he spoke to me I was so glad he was on my side. Hard to describe, but guru sums it up. He exuded such calm and wisdom. And he's probably the reason I'm alive today. You kind of knew that he was something special. Intelligence is relative. Knew a maintenance guy who couldn't write but could fix any HVAC or any repair really. We define intelligence as book smart, but there's some drug dealers who could easily be a CEO for any business and thrive. So, met a lot of smart people. One of my best friends who recently committed suicide. Brilliant interventional radiologist. Trained at Johns Hopkins. Good at everything he tried. Memorized the lyrics to thousands of songs and quotes from hundreds of movies. Taught himself guitar and drums. Knew all there was to know about fishing and marine life. Amazing focus and observation skills. Also loved to party and enjoy life. I will miss him dearly. I had a high school teacher who was very passionate about her subjects, math and physics, but also could see the potential in every student. It was so awesome to have her try and get the best out of everyone. No matter who. So maybe not the sense of knowledge, but in the sense of being able to connect with students and to excite them for learning. My dad. When he was growing up, he came first in a Scottish national physics competition and came close in a chemistry one as well. An art history professor at a smaller state school in Ohio. He just had expansive views on modern art and a great way of explaining it, but also challenging a rather pretentious group of students that pretended to know the subject better than him. And he knew his audience and incorporated visual aspects into his testing material. He liked creative problem solving. And he was a bassist in a punk band centered on the constitutional amendments. Weird man. My co-worker and our company CTO. Born in rural Italy to farmer parents. Somehow got a scholarship and gets a degree in chemical engineering with perfect grades in Italy. Just wait. He then meets his future husband by chance in Italy, who is an American. He then wins a scholarship to the only university in the American city his husband lives to be with him. As a non-American, he has no access to student loans and he's poor, so his only chance is scholarships. He moves to America, and because they are gay in the 90s, they aren't legally married and can't get a green card. He then gets another undergraduate, then master's, and then PhD. All on scholarship and all with 4.0 grades in electrical engineering. He did this to keep extending his student visa so he could stay with his husband. Fast forward, he gets a work visa. The laws change and their marriage is legal. He then co-founds a company which is acquired, and he's saved what he calls duck you money. Whenever you have a bad boss, you can say duck you and be free to leave. He used this money to guarantee their future financial stability. The guy's a personal hero to me. You also know his genius because he can explain almost anything to anybody but never makes them feel inferior for not knowing. He also is very fast to point out when B doesn't know something. That humility is everything. Written about her on Reddit before and even had people say I was making it up. She'd been traumatized and thought beyond lowly of herself, so her concept of what was normal in a person was really skewed. She thought she was stupid, but would get legitimately confused at things people did and said because she thought they were smarter than she was. It would often result in her dumbing herself down to make some people feel better. And she assumed others also did this constantly. It was ironic too, because sometimes with her unorthodox outward behavior and significant speech impediment, people would think she was mentally challenged. She didn't realize her intensely high IQ was abnormal. When I once sent her an IQ test for some group, I don't think it was Mensa but something like that, she said she had so much fun with those puzzles. Didn't I like them too? I couldn't figure even one of them out. She'd almost never seen television shows, and she was with me watching Jeopardy a few times and said this show would be more interesting if they had hard questions. I told her most people thought those questions were hard and she was shocked. She told me ever since she had been very small she thought lessons in school were just for fun. She didn't realize or understand until much later that the other children were actually learning to do those things. She'd never remembered not being able to read. And she was able to pick up the arts immediately as well. She played multiple musical instruments, spoke 3 languages, and was an amazing artist, drawing, painting, sculpting, carving, and even a good cook. But sadly, trauma had just destroyed her psyche. You plebble spends 18 hours every weekend doing nothing but chilling with me and playing games. School nights consist of him working for 2-4 hours. then playing games. Floats through school without really lifting a finger. Oh yeah, and gets A's consistently. Pissing off his teachers, and me, along the way. Genuinely smart dude. Thankfully he's rather humble, otherwise I'd have to strange him. My own father. A high school education. Rose to be the vice president of a large bank. Taught college classes. Built 5 of his own homes. Taught himself from a book. Electrical, plumbing, building, raising animals, farming, and the list goes on. He's never raised his voice either. Everything in life can be taught calmly and with compassion. My hero. My wife. She knows my Reddit account. Uncle. According to my dad, when he graduated from Oxford he was offered some secret government job, which he declined. A bit later he was offered another job abroad with the FBI or something. Declined again. He almost died in a car crash which I'm 99% sure was set up to kill him. He's incredibly well read, instantly grasps logical progressions and is totally unassuming. He'll treat everyone he meets as an intellectual equal and will fill them in on any details they don't know without being condescending. Not sure how to describe it, except that he's intellectually generous, willing to talk and listen about anything, and will have a depth of background to draw from.